I have been talking about Quant, aka QNT, for quite some time on this channel, and the main thing that I've always said is how bullish the overall chart actually is. When we zoom out on this chart, this is what the current setup looks like. And I don't think that I need to tell you guys that the last time that we were actually trading at all-time highs was in September of 2021. We are coming up on 4 years of price consolidation, and people are finally catching on. Now, obviously, Dread Bongo is an OG. If you guys were around back in 2021, you already know that Dread Bongo was a big player around QNT during that time. He just said, QNT has been consolidating for over 3 years into a highly compressed wedge. Given QNT's ramp up in real-world adoption and integration into the core infrastructure of financial systems and global standards, the breakout from this coiling will be significant and transformative. The market will begin to finally price in QNT's foundational role in the next era of finance. And I completely agree. It's something that I have been mentioning over the last couple weeks in terms of how bullish the overall chart setup for QNT actually is. With the overall supply metrics around QNT, and with the increased adoption from institutional players and even enterprise players, I do think that this is putting a lot of pressure on projects like this. Why? Well, because we also know that regulations are happening pretty quick in the US, they're being accelerated, and even outside of the US, we still continue to see more and more regulatory discussions happening. This is putting a lot of pressure on legitimate projects. And when I say a lot of pressure, I mean positive pressure, right? We're starting to see institutional players and even enterprise players opening up to utility-based projects. And Quant, let's just be honest here, Quant has probably some of the most utility this space has to offer in just one project. And what they're solving is extremely bullish for mass institutional grade adoption of DLT and blockchain tech. But it's the supply. 33% less supply than Bitcoin. When this does break out of that 3-year wedge, which we have it over here, right? We have been charting this for quite some time now. It's starting to peak above it. But when QNT finally breaks above this wedge, and I mean goes absolutely parabolic above it, the FOMO that will happen on QNT will be absolutely incredible to witness. Because again, people are not aware of how bullish a crypto asset like QNT actually is that has the supply metrics and the utility metrics that Quant actually has. And when we are talking about projects like XRP and XLM and Algorand and HBAR and all of these great projects that are, fully focused on institutional grade adoption and even enterprises, Quant is actually helping those projects in a huge way, because Quant is providing the underlying tech stack that is so crucial for all of that to actually happen at scale. When we think about tokenized assets moving on chain, or if we think about big institutional players moving on chain as well, guess what? They can't do that at scale until their systems are interoperable with blockchain-based systems. Quant is enabling that. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I also want to address the QNT Bitcoin pair, because this thing is bottomed out in my opinion. We're now in this wedge as well, and we're squeezing in this wedge. We should start to see a big breakout against Bitcoin very soon. I've been noticing Bitcoin dominance dropping as well, and most altcoins, and I know that a lot of people will say like, oh, QNT against Bitcoin is so weak, it's at all-time lows. Guess what? It's not just QNT. In fact, it's most altcoins. Most altcoins are so bottomed out against their Bitcoin pair, it's ridiculous. Even Ethereum is bottomed out completely, which is telling us that the opportunity in front of us is very significant. We should be watching these altcoin charts in a very big way. And QNT is one that's probably the cleanest setup and probably one of the most bullish setups that we have in front of us right now. Now, also, a lot of people think that QNT is not used during the process at all around Quant. This has been an ongoing discussion for years now. And we've talked about this on multiple occasions. Tokenizer has talked about it as well because Tokenizer is a huge holder of QNT. But Smoke Dog recently did put out a post saying, yes, QNT are used in every transaction that flows through Overledger. Read closely. QNT are used to validate the option to sign and encrypt every transaction that flows through Overledger. Document it. They also documented this with the new Fusion tool as well. But here we have on the bottom, and this is the Overledger network ecosystem, by the way. You also have on the right side that gateway. Yeah, that connects all DLTs. That means XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Hedera. It doesn't matter. Any DLT is easily tied into the Overledger gateway platform, which connects all of those DLTs to payment APIs, enterprise integration, institutional players, you name it. Anything can easily be tied into this. And then you also look on the left side, which is like private technology. So like Corda or Hyperledger Fabric or the private Ethereum network. All of this is interoperable, which we love to see. But on the bottom there, you do have to enforce confidentiality and integrity. QNT are used to validate with the option to sign and encrypt every transaction that flows through Overledger. Every enterprise client, developer, user, and application validates each transaction using their QNT linked to their map ID and BPI key. So yeah, when we think about this, QNT is the powerhouse behind Quant, Overledger, and even Fusion. And talking about Fusion, we did get a big update on July 4th, which was Quant Fusion DevNet July 4th update. Our layer 2.5 multi-ledger rollup DevNet is live across Ethereum, Sepolia, Polygon, Amoy, Avalanche, Fuji. Major milestone achieved with upgradable proxy contracts plus sequencer API integration. Key completions: upgradable proxy contracts tested via Foundry, sequencer APIs integrated with Quant Connect. DEX partner selected, announcement soon, which I'm very excited to see that one. Phase 1 transaction testing, building the infrastructure for true cross-chain composability. And then the strategic approach, taking measured transparency, logging all transactions, but publishing retrospectively with dev commentary. Using upgradable contracts on DevNet equals rapid iteration without breaking changes. Every decision documented, community feedback driving direction. What's next? Deposit functionality testing, UI development sprint, testnet approach finalization. This is methodical infrastructure development where stability is greater than speed. Each component battle tested before moving forward. And then of course we do have, community questions. This is just asking for anyone that does have questions. But this is a huge update. We're starting to see Quant Fusion really push forward, and I'm very excited about this full launch. Once we do get it, I do think that Quant is going to see significant adoption. And also, by the way, Gilbert Verdian, CEO of Quant, did put out a great post talking about first Deutsche Bank, then Robinhood, early movers embracing their own layer 2 networks. The momentum is undeniable, and the rationale is clear. Institutions are ready to transition private permission transactions and digital assets onto public blockchains. And this is probably one of the most bullish things that we actually are starting to see this year, is the push away from private blockchains. We saw this with JP Morgan as well. This is exciting times. The drivers behind this shift: enterprise-grade infrastructure and integration, scalability, speed, and global reach, security and privacy, enabling enterprise security controls and compliance to extend into blockchain environments, reliance solely on native layer 1 constraints, institutions. These platforms weren't built for enterprise scale operations, and it shows with bridge hacks, scalability issues, and faults in core blockchain components. At Quant, we envision a future where institutions overcome these limitations and benefit from all layer 1 networks with built-in interoperability, enterprise-grade security, and seamless integration. This is made possible through our patented multi-chain roll-up architecture as a new layer 2.5. Just as enterprises operate secure networks on top of public internet carriers, they will run interoperable multi-chain networks on top of layer 1 blockchains. Introducing Quant Fusion, the institutional-grade layer 2.5 built to accelerate the migration to on-chain finance. It's no longer a question of if, it's only a matter of when. We're inviting institutions to be part of this transformation. And once this officially gets pushed through fully, we see all of this go live. This is going to wake up Quant in a big way. And when I say wake up Quant, I mean wake up Quant to mass institutional players tapping in to this tech, which will also lead to those institutional players tapping into this tech, which will be a domino effect into tapping into public blockchains, because that's exactly what this enables. And by the way, one other thing to add on to all of this that makes Quant even more bullish is ISO TC307. Everyone is aware of ISO 20022, right? This has been the ISO standard that's been pushed for years on end. That's going to make us all rich, and it's going to do this, it's going to do that. And trust me, I do think that ISO 20022 enables the use of this new technology in a big way. It makes, messaging standards a lot more clearer, and it does open the door for modernization in a huge way. So in a sense, yeah, it's great for, new technologies to be tapped in, and it's definitely enabling a lot of what we talk about. But a lot of people forget about ISO TC307, which was created by Gilbert Verdian. And when we think about ISO TC307, what exactly is that? Well, it is blockchain and DLT. This is the standardization of blockchain technologies and distributed ledger technologies. And if we think about what this does involve, we could see all the structure down here, right? We could see what it involves: use cases, interoperability, tokenization of assets, all of that great stuff that we talk about on a day-to-day basis. And what's crazy about this is, yes, this was created by Gilbert Verdian, the same individual that is pushing for, this quant fusion tech to enable institutional players at scale to tap into public blockchains. Quant is enabling everything that we talk about in a big way. And I feel as if nobody's actually paying attention. This is why I keep saying that the chart for QNT is so bullish, because the chart is lined up for everything that's happening this year. And what's happening this year? Well, tokenization is going crazy. Stablecoin adoption is going crazy. Institutional adoption of public blockchains is starting to heat up. And we know that institutions want to tap in a big way. Just like Gilbert Verdian is saying, yeah, we're starting to see the big banks embracing the tech. Robinhood and asset management companies as well are starting to say, guess what? We want to tokenize. Tokenization is the future. It's no longer about, oh, I wonder if these players are going to use this tech. No, they're telling us that they want to use this tech and they will be using this tech. But it's crazy because Quant has been ahead of the game for so long. And they have been a big enabler of everything that's happening right now. But in terms of enabling all of this at scale, that's the big piece. That's the core unlock. And Quant is the key here. And when we think about ISO TC307, we also go back to July of last year, where the ISO Standards Conference happened. And even within this, okay, there was 90 experts from 30 countries that represent public entities, governments, sector associations, international organizations, standardization bodies, private companies, research centers, and universities. And the key takeaways from the event were DLT interoperability is a requirement, okay? And ISO TC307 has its own specific interoperability working group 7, for which, their founder and CEO, Gilbert Verdian, is the main player behind it. And this working group is developing an interoperability framework document that details a simple classification of DLT interoperability by dividing interoperability into 3 key areas. They include modes, which is data transfer, and asset exchange; infrastructure, nodes, proxies, and gateways; solutions, oracles, and cross authentication. And then we also have progress within standardization is slow and gradual, but it is starting to pick up. It has been starting to pick up. And then we also look at the Finternet, right? The Finternet is a big thing that I have put a lot of weight behind because it is from the BIS, and it basically reinforces even Ripple's original goal of the Internet of Value. I actually think that it is the Internet of Value, just reward it. But that is also, something that just does not happen without blockchain and DLT standardization and interoperability as well. And that's where Quant actually becomes a big player because of ISO TC307 combined with Quant Fusion. Quant Fusion is just a build on of Overledger. It's still a part of Overledger. Overledger is so bullish for this entire space, especially if you are a utility, maxi. Any utility maxi in this space that's following XRP or Algorand or HBAR or whatever, they should 100% be focused on what Quant is doing, because it's enabling everything that we talk about with those projects in a big way. And I'm very excited for the future of QNT, because I do think that this is probably going to be one of the most expensive crypto assets in the space. Right now, we're still very early, but I do think that we will circle back to QNT, in time and say, I can't believe that we had such a long time to accumulate this thing around $100 or even under $100, because there was a lot of time, under $100, if we think about this, okay? I just want to talk a little bit more about this, because it's crazy how long we had under $100 to accumulate QNT for. Just for reference, okay? Here we have just 189 days. Here we have another roughly, 84 days. Technically, there was more days within this, 147 days. Like, we had so long to accumulate as much QNT as possible under $100, but a lot of people just continue to avoid QNT. They continue to ignore it. And now I do think that once we start this breakout, everyone is going to regret ignoring this chart. This is one of the cleanest setups in the space, and it's probably one of the most simple to look at and say, wow, that is bullish setups as well. You don't even need to know TA. You don't even need to think about it. You just look at it, and we've been going sideways. Okay, even since this impulsive move, we've been going sideways for 994 days. And realistically speaking, since the beginning of this wedge, it's been 1,120 days. When this thing really breaks out, it's going to be crazy. XRP is a perfect example of what consolidation does when we finally break out. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.